All right. Hello, everyone. This is My Two Cents, and this is my February Patrons Hangout. Right now, I have two of my patrons here, Pipsqueak and General Neckbeard. I've also invited a couple of YouTubers that I've recently done collabs with to join in on this one, and we have Sir Conservatarian here. He and I did a collab on reviewing the video Walking Well Trans. So I'll just give a quick moment to let you guys introduce yourselves. If anyone does.
Yeah, this my name's General Neckbeard. Hi.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sir Conservatarian. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. See, Simon Petrikov just asked me what happened last night. What are you referring to?
I think he scheduled the live stream a day early, and it came up on YouTube.
Okay. Well, actually, yes, I scheduled the live stream just so that everyone would know that it was coming. But it always was for this. I put down this date specifically, unless. All right, but I see we do have a couple people in the chat, so just to let everyone know, this is pretty much for. I have these hangouts. Anyone who's a patron of mine, whether you donate $1, whether you donate $10. All my patrons are welcome to participate in these once a month, just to chat about whatever you guys want to chat about. So priority will be given to both General Neckbeard and Pipsqueak for any topic to discuss. Otherwise, I will be looking at the chat just to see if there's anything coming up there that's worth discussing. And of course, Conservatarian, your input is welcome. But what do you guys want to talk about this month? And Conservative Californian, I see that you are a dirty sadist in the realm of ANCAPs. Just know that you are always welcome here. Oh, and Listen to Reason, I see, is in the chat as well. I invited him in since he and I recently did a collab together. But he said he is having software issues, so we will I'll be on the lookout for what he has to say. Also, I would just like to say to everyone watching, thank you for all your support. I was originally going to get pulled from the YouTube partner program because I did not have cumulative 4,000 hours of watch time since I started my channel just over 6 months ago. But as of yesterday, I passed the 4,000 hour mark. So I will still be in the partner program when the change to the partner program that takes effect on February 20th. And Mr. Mojo Ryzen, yes, you have been a follower of mine for a while, so thank you for being here. Oh, and happy Chinese New Year to you, Victor Cage. All right, well, if no one has anything else to suggest, I see Sir Vindicator wants to talk about the Valentine's Day shooting. So I'm assuming you're referring to the shooting in Florida with the gentleman by the name of Nicholas Cruz. I'll just share some of my thoughts on that, and then Conservatarian, Pipsqueak, General Neckbeard, you guys can jump in. But from what whenever one of these mass shootings happens, I know the liberals especially always jump on it to say we need more gun control. Mysteriously enough, none of them actually propose any laws that would have stopped any of the shootings that have taken place so far as I know of. Of course, they're not willing to come out and say what they support, that they just support all-out firearms bans. The problem is, at least from what I've read about this particular incident, is that everyone who knew this kid said this guy was bad news. The police had been called to his house on multiple occasions. Everyone at school said they avoided him because he was a complete freak and was constantly talking about killing people and posting pictures of guns. He was banned. I believe he was banned from carrying a backpack on the property while he was still a student. And if that wasn't all bad enough, the actual FBI field office in Miami had received several tips about him that were not followed up on. And I recall seeing earlier President Trump actually tweeted the FBI must have been too busy looking into Russian collusion to deal with an actual threat. So, but as always, the thing is, it was a school, and that means by federal law it was a gun-free zone. Did anyone when this guy started shooting, did anyone walk in front of him and point at the gun-free zone sign and explain to him that he wasn't allowed to have a gun? And if they did they think that would have stopped him? I mean, imagine what might have happened if the teachers in the school were armed, or if there was a more significant security staff. And one of the things I like when talking about gun control, I actually, when I was I wrote a paper on this when I was in college, comparing policies in the United States for school security compared to policies in Israel. And in particular, in Israel, if what you know about Israel is that in Israel, everyone serves in the military. So teachers in schools are, for the most part, all ex-military. And in the 1970s, I believe there were students taken as hostages. Ever since then, Israel has had a policy of teachers being armed and having increased security personnel in schools. And the last I checked, they're not having nearly as many problems with school shootings.
Yeah, to me, I'm if you don't mind me putting my foresight into this.
Go right ahead.
For me, I found it a little bit sad that not even 5 minutes during the shooting, and you would already see hashtag gun control now was already trending. The bodies weren't even cold when this took place, and they were already using dead bodies to push their agenda. And I see that Listen in the chat says something similar. I feel like they just let it happen to push more gun control bullshit. Wouldn't be the first time the government.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Okay.
You want me to say? I was just going to say quickly. There are literally thousands of times every day that law-abiding gun owners use guns to protect themselves from would-be criminals. And approximately 93% of the time someone uses a gun for self-defense, they need to fire the gun, just present it. But the media never reports on that. Yet when a mass shooting takes place, it's all over, it's wall-to-wall coverage all across the nation if the perpetrator was white. But if a mass shooting takes place and it's an ethnic minority, well, then they do everything they can to bury it because that wouldn't fit the media's narrative either.
And here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing is that one person couldn't even take the time out of her day to fact check it. And she called this kid Nicholas Cruz a white supremacist. Okay, first off, Cruz. Does that sound like a white name to you? Is what I was thinking.
Yeah, definitely not.
Exactly. So how can?
Well, hang on. No, his last name was an adopted name. The first name sounds Slavic because it's spelled with a K.
Yeah, it is spelled with a K. I saw. But the other thing I should mention is I actually made after the Texas shooting, I made a video about this. One thing I think that doesn't help this situation is the fact that we plaster the names, the perpetrators of these crimes. We put their pictures and names, get coverage on national news everywhere. And studies have actually, there have been studies conducted that show that one of the motivators in people in these situations, especially ever since the Columbine shooting back in the 90s, is that people just want people who do this often feel like they don't deserve. And if I can't be famous the right way, I can be infamous. And if I kill a bunch of people, my face in my TV in America, and no one will ever forget me. And
yeah,
I don't know if that doesn't necessarily meet. That's not necessarily what motivates every shooter, but it definitely motivates somebody. Give in and give these people what they want by putting their picture and name everywhere. I don't think helps the situation.
You're kind of botting out, but I think I was roughly able to understand what you're saying. You were trying to say that that the moment you give these people not so much a platform, but the moment you plaster their names, you make them infamous and then you make them remembered. Is that what you were trying to say? Okay.
Here, I'll just repeat myself quick. Pretty much, sometimes many of these shooters feel like they are, they're outcasts in society. They don't have the recognition they deserve, and they say, well, if I can't be famous, the way other people get famous, I can at least be infamous. And by shooting people, they'll put my picture and my name. I will be immortalized like the shooters at Columbine were.
Yeah, to me, well, sorry about that.
Well, specifically
me,
Columbine's like you've got a hell of a lot of shooters actually directly saying that Columbine is what inspired them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is that the sad thing. The sad thing is that at my school, I heard that people were saying this is that, oh well, we need stricter gun control. We need to ban fully automatics. And I'm thinking, oh my fucking god, do you not like? You don't even. I'm not a gun nut. I'm not a crazy gun nut. I don't collect guns, nor do I care much for them. But even I know the basics. Even I understand that each state has different laws, and fully automatics. Although still legal, it is really hard to obtain one, legally speaking.
Well, technically speaking, yes, fully automatics are already banned in the United States. You have to have a special license in order to own a fully automatic weapon.
That's what I said. I'm sorry.
It costs you thousands of dollars, and the ATF reserves the right to search your home at any question if you want to own a fully automatic.
Yeah, dude, you're bonding out like you're bonding in and out between sentences. Is there something wrong with your connection, dude?
I don't think so.
Yeah, to me.
Hang on.
Yeah, to me, I just find it annoying and really asinine, if I could be so frank, that these common churls are always proposing the same damn things. But what they don't realize is that those things already exist. Now, here's the thing: is that no one is in disagreement, or at least I don't think most people would be in disagreement. That there are certain places, certain people that shouldn't own a gun. But does that mean we have to apply that to everyone? God, no. I just think common sense is unfortunately not that common anymore.
Yeah, and to all the leftists who are, screaming gun control now, I challenge one of them to produce an actual law that would have stopped this other than a gun ban. And I think many people on the left do want an all gun ban. They won't actually admit that that's what they want.
Oh, there are some out there. Just look at people like Atheism is Unstoppable. They do exist, and they will admit that.
Okay. Well, and just quick, is the I tried something. Has the audio gotten better, or am I still botting out?
You're still botting out for me.
Okay.
All right. Well, the left doesn't want to ban guns. They just want the government to have a monopoly on guns.
Exactly.
Yeah, here's the thing. The left, they know that they cannot ban guns entirely because they know that they cannot just get rid of the Second Amendment. As much as they want to, it'd just be really, and I mean just really, really, really hard for them to do so. But the fact that they want to just should be pretty telling as to what they really think of us or what they really want. And I just... anyone who proposes gun control laws, or at least advocates for gun control, they believe in guns. They absolutely do. You know why? Because they don't want you to be armed, but they want themselves to be armed.
Well, yeah, and all the politicians, all the leftist politicians who are for gun control now, whenever they give those speeches, they have armed security personnel within 10 feet, to protect them.
And here's the thing: is that I think we protect our president with guns. We protect our law or our courts with guns. We protect our military bases with guns. We protect our banks with guns. Why do we treat our schools any different? I just find that to be absolutely... not abhorrent. I wouldn't say abhorrent, but... what's the word? Not dullard. Lunacy. We'll just say lunatic.
Well, it's crazy. We protect. I mean, our children are important. We ought, if armed security is the only thing that's going to deter a would-be shooter.
Mm-hmm. And this is the problem.
We certainly don't want to poison our kids' minds with seeing armed guards. I mean, they would think that guns are acceptable. That's just terrible.
I can't tell if that. Never mind.
Okay.
But to me, and here's the thing: is that we treat this. Many people treat this is. Why should we have guns? This has never happened in the past. Yeah, it has happened in the past. Back then, like even before guns were even a thing or common to people, instead of having guns, people would have swords at their houses to defend themselves. They had bow and arrows. They had crossbows. Anything as a means of defense. And this is what I say to many foreigners. This is something I say to many foreigners. Is that the katana, how it was so valuable to the Japanese people, and how that was a means of defense or means of defending their household from another. Well, think of that, but with a gun over here in the United States. The Wild West was called the Wild West for a reason. There were no laws, or at least no heavily enforced laws, per se. And if someone were to invade your house, your revolver, your shotgun could mean the difference between living and dying. So yes.
And I'd also add firearms were the ultimate equalizer. Back when there was only swords or bows and arrows, even that physical training had a lot to do with who could effectively use those types of weapons. Now, obviously, it does take training to be able to use a gun effectively, but it's a lot easier to learn how to use a gun than to learn how to use a sword or a bow and arrow. And a person in a wheelchair with a gun can put down Arnold Schwarzenegger. So,
oh yeah, definitely. I think what it is that people are more likely to die by smoking or by car accidents than they are by guns. But the thing is that they don't see a gun as a tool. They see it as a device meant to kill. And I really don't want to blame society. I don't want to blame that. You could say you can blame social media and how the mainstream media constantly portrays guns as, oh, they're evil, they're evil. But when you have the mindset, when you've been raised in an environment where people are terrified by guns, your mind just kind of follows the hive mind, if that makes sense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the thing that ticks me off most about discussions on this topic is the friggin' people who want to ban all guns come out and say, oh, you don't need... Doesn't matter. You don't need a car, and cars kill thousands of people every fucking day. You don't need a car. And they go, oh, no, I do. I need it for transportation. No, you don't. You can walk, you can ride a bike, you can carpool with someone else, you can call a taxi, you can ride a fucking bus. You do not need a car. You want a car. That is all the reason anyone should ever have. It's like, I want something. Okay, can you pay for it? Yes. Well, okay, fair enough. Okay, go ahead. Have the thing that you want. It doesn't really matter what the reason is for. If you can pay for something legitimately, you should be able to own whatever property you want.
Yeah, and to me, I'm thankful to God in the state that I live in. Because again, folks, I'm not a crazy gun nut. I don't really care if I collect guns or what have you. But if I ever do, at least in my state, it's pretty laxed. The laws are really relaxed to obtaining a gun. And I hope to go to Texas one day where I can get even more guns.
Just quick, Sir Vindicator noted that I guess they want to put metal detectors in schools, and that the local sheriff said he wants to be able to arrest anyone who posts violent tweets. Now, I haven't actually seen that news report. I'd have to hear more specifically what it was he said. But I think the problem with arresting people for tweets becomes, well, what is a violent tweet? I think if somebody tweets out, I am going to go to the school and kill someone, yeah, that's pretty serious. That needs to get reported to the authorities. The problem is in the society of political correctness we have today, just about the left can call anything a, quote, violent tweet. And then they want people arrested for saying there are only two genders. So I certainly think it's appropriate to monitor tweets, because tweets could it potentially inform you that someone might plan to do something like this. But to be able to arrest people for tweets is pretty dangerous territory.
Yeah. I know I should not be laughing at that statement, but there is truth to that. I got in trouble at my school for saying that there are only two genders.
Okay, yeah, you got in trouble for stating a biological reality.
I know, it's just like you. Okay, first off, again, everyone at my school, they say I'm the only conservative, which there's like, if we're gonna go with the most basic, or at least the most layman terms of defining a conservative, yes, I am, but I'm a conservatarian, but that's a conversation for a different day. Me daring to tell the truth is now a new act of conservatism. And when we get to this point, you'll then realize that simply holding one step back will propel yourself 4 steps forward. As ironic as that might sound. And I do not mean like, oh, going backwards. No, I mean like literally just holding yourself back and letting progress go forward ahead of you. Because with the left, what they want to bring us back to the past. They romanticize the past, or at least they cherry pick whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they rewrite history to try to suit their own agenda.
Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that the right hasn't done this too. They have definitely done it as well. It's just that now the pendulum has now swung to the other side, is what it is. And I guarantee you that within 10 years' time, we're going to be having this exact same conversation. But instead of us making fun of left-wingers or SJWs, we're going to be making fun of right-wingers or whatever the colloquial term for SJWs of the right. I guarantee it.
Yeah, just kind of one extreme to the next.
Oh yeah, definitely, because this happened with this happened during the 80s and the 90s. Back then, during the 80s, when Ronald Reagan became president, there was a massive surge in conservatism. And it showed. It showed within the mainstream media. It showed within the films in Hollywood. For example, when Top Gun, is it? Not Top Gun. Hold on. It had something to do. It was a movie with Tom Cruise, and he was in the Navy, a pilot.
But yeah, that's Top Gun. Top
Gun. When that movie came out, there was a surge of 300% of people joining in the Navy. 300%. That is no small task, folks.
In particular, they all wanted to be pilots.
Exactly. And who could blame them? In their mind, they are told that, oh, well, I'm going to be like this. I'm going to be a badass. When in reality, no, that's not the case. But still, they wanted to live the dream. And now the same thing is happening here, except now people are wanting to be transgenders.
Yeah, it's amazing how, but the media certainly does have that kind of effect on people. And I think Top Gun is just a perfect example of how when a really popular movie about a particular career field or a particular lifestyle comes out, the culture reflects it. So, and especially, young impressionable people make a lot of decisions for better or for worse based on what they see on TV and in the movies.
And here's the thing: is that admittedly, I'll admit, Battleship, like, I don't remember the year when it came out, but it was Battleship, where they went to see and fight aliens.
Where they fought the USS Missouri and take it out to kill some aliens. Yeah, I saw the movie.
Yeah, that's as ridiculous as it may have sounded.
Bloody. That was just awful. It was completely ridiculous.
I found it to be awesome, dude.
I'll admit it was inspiring to see like the idea of all those old veterans taking out a class of ship that hasn't been used in decades and fighting alongside modern Navy men. Yeah, it was inspiring. It was ridiculous, but it was entertainment. So
yeah, to me, in my mind, thinking I want to join the Navy. Fast forward 10 years later. It
had to make sense, right?
Yeah, exactly. When I, much like we were saying with, I think earlier before the stream started, we were talking quick about Black Panther, and I've been thinking with all this talk about the politicization of Black Panther. I mean, goodness sakes, aren't we supposed to just go see works of fiction and enjoy them as works of fiction? Yet our culture has to turn everything into a political statement.
Has to be a struggle. Thanks, Marxists. You ruined literally everything.
Oh, definitely. Cultural Marxism and cosmic nihilism. They ruin everything they touch, in my opinion. They denigrate what's beautiful. And here's the thing: is that I think some people tend to mix up Marxism, or at least cultural Marxism, with cosmic nihilism, and vice versa. You know, just as how I think people mistake patriotism with militarism. Because I can definitely tell you there's a big difference between us Americans and how we honor our veterans and how the Russians honor their veterans. There's a big difference. You think our parades are big? Go over there in Russia. They have parades for weeks. And would I call that patriotism? No, I would actually call that militarism. And in my opinion, I think patriotism is a good thing. But when it gets to the point of militarism, no, that is when it's getting bad. The same thing happens with nationalism, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, with nationalism, with patriotism, I mean, those are all terms that have different meanings to different people. But I would say, I think, there is a healthy pride to be taken in your nation, in your heritage, but especially when that is, like, this is one of my major disagreements with the alt-right and other, or the left, just people who are obsessed with identity politics. Okay, I think there's a healthy pride to be taken in your heritage. There's a healthy pride to be taken in your nation. But when that is first and foremost where your identity comes from, it removes any accomplishments you might have as an individual are meaningless because everything becomes in terms of, your identity as part of that collective. And to be perfectly honest, I feel like the people most drawn to these kinds of identity politics are the ones who don't have any accomplishments of their own. Because if you had accomplishments of your own to take pride in, you wouldn't need to constantly be taking pride in what your ancestors did 1,000 years ago.
To me, the way I see it is this. And perhaps I come at this perspective because I've been to other places. I've been outside of the United States. Is that first and foremost, I'm an American. I love America. That does not mean I love America in her current state. I would like to see her change, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, if that makes sense, you know?
Okay. Well, I would say the standard of living in the West certainly speaks to. I am not afraid to say Western culture is better than other cultures, and I think the standard of living in the West speaks to that reality, because all the refugees are not trying to flee to Saudi Arabia or Iran. They're trying to flee to Europe and the United States.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is why I say without any hesitation that objectively speaking, our culture is superior to other cultures, or at least into most cultures in every single way. I can philosophically prove that. I can mathematically prove that. I can scientifically prove that.
All right. I'm just going to acknowledge 2 chats. I see Victor Cage said he was watching Apocalypse and then decided to join the army. Good for you on that one. And Reason's ancestors created dinosaurs, for which he is proud, and then Reason and his brother wiped them out. So I guess that answers the question of what happened to the dinosaurs.
Well, okay, then I have a question to Reason then. Do you know the way? Do you know the way, my brother? Let's wait for him to answer.
Yes.
But no,
and he says 'twas fun.
'Twas fun. That's lovely.
Yes.
But yeah, I think, and whenever I hear people, when I was in Europe, I found out many people were not very patriotic. I found out that many people did not like nationalism. Because to them, they were thinking, oh my God, nationalism, Nazis. Over here, during World War II in America, we did not have that sort of connotation. The worst thing that ever happened was this. Instead of saluting the flag by having our hand up towards it, we then just put our hand on our hearts. That was the only cultural difference between us and them, or at least at that time. And again, I really hate saying this because it makes me sound like I am more cultured than you because I've been to other places. I really don't like saying that, but it's kind of been the truth. Is that once you go to other places, you learn that culturally speaking, yes, there are differences, but generally speaking, Western culture, I don't want to say it's a monolith, but it feels like it. You know, do you understand what I'm trying to get at? Like,
When you
I'm not
say
saying that I'm not saying that it is, but it feels like it. For example, politeness, or at least looking someone in the eyes, referring to someone as sir or ma'am. Like, it would be accepted here.
You're saying that's unique to Western culture? Is that what you mean when you say it's a monolith? Or
I'm not saying that's unique. I'm saying that I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say monolith because that does come across as rude or abhorrent. But there, I'll just say it like this: we Americans, we think very differently because, well, we just want to be different. Whether for good, or better, for worse, we just want to be different. But generally speaking, there were things here in the United States that I found to be the same here as it was over there. Does that make sense?
Like, there are some universal aspects of culture.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, is that there are certain universal aspects of Western culture. You know? That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Well, yes, and I think that makes sense. I mean, if any culture is to survive or succeed, they have to embrace things towards that end. So even though, every culture, I mean, I think it was C.S. Lewis who once said, imagine a culture where they praised people who were cowards, and it was thought of as a good thing to be dishonest or to steal from your brother. I mean, like, we can't imagine such a culture because such a culture would not survive for long.
Hold on. Listen to Reason answer my question. Yes, I know the way, my brother. Do you know the queen? I know the queen. Don't worry. I'll tell you it after stream. Don't worry. I'm watching. I am always watching. But yeah, one of the big differences between us Americans and Europeans is that we tip. Over there, not so much. It is, like, we got weird looks when we were tipping our waiters or waitresses. They even told us, like, what? Why do you pay us? Why do you pay more? Like, you already paid us. It's like, yeah, but it's the only right thing to do. It's the correct thing. It's a polite thing. And they
already charge for tips.
Yeah, they don't really do that. It's completely not taboo, but it's completely alien. Now, somewhere in like Japan, they would consider that very offensive if you were to tip them.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. I'm just going to throw this out there. Did anyone see? There was a video that was being circulated around. I think it started on Facebook, but it was called "Tipping is Racist," and it was one of those left-leaning organizations was trying to prove that tipping was originally put into place as a way to prevent. After slavery ended in the United States, the tipping system was invented so that blacks who were taking jobs would not have to be paid better wages, and they could argue that, you know, they would make money off tips or something like that.
Yeah, this is what I would say. So what? Like, that was in the past. Again, there are reasons. There are reasons why these things exist. There are reasons why traditions exist. Like, I'm gonna spoil a little bit of Black Panther here for you folks, but essentially the idea, or at least the core theme behind Black Panther, was tradition versus technology. Or at least, should we allow tradition to go so far to dictate our future or to dictate our history, or should we abandon our culture? Should we abandon our traditions so that we can propel ourselves going forward? To which I would say this. Oh God. Listen to Reason actually sent me a photo. Let me. Oh,
God. Well, I'll just finish the thought I was making about the is tipping racist. Regardless of what the motives were of when tipping first came into existence, if it was indeed a way to prevent paying black people back at post-Civil War, I'll say right now what tipping is a way to reward good behavior and dissuade bad behavior. When I go to a restaurant, if my waiter or waitress does an excellent job, I will give them a larger tip. If they do a horrible job, I will give them a lesser tip And in true free market fashion, if the restaurant itself is horrible, I will stop going there. Or if it's great, I'll go there more often. So thus, it incentivizes good business practices because people are rewarded when they do a good job. If tipping were to be made illegal, as this video on Facebook was actually suggesting, they wanted to make it so that waiters or waitresses always get paid the same no matter what. Well, that would just be something, that is a concept that would find its roots in socialism. And of course, lead to worse business practices, because when people are guaranteed their payment, regardless of how hard they work, they tend to work not quite so hard.
Yep. I'm sorry, but I'm just this just caught me off guard. Do you mind if I screen share what Listen to Reason shared to me?
Oh dear. Here we go.
Provided it's not porn or something.
It's not anything sexual. Don't worry.
All right. Then go ahead.
It's just it's about Ugandan knuckles. All right. Here it is, folks. That is your queen. That is your queen, folks.
I see.
Where is your god now?
All right, moving on. Back to, I'll quick throw it back to Pipsqueak and General Neckbeard, since they're the patrons here. Anything you guys wanted to discuss? All right. If not, anybody in the chat, something y'all wanted to discuss?
I'm a Petrograd 39 asks, so how long did the meme last? Roughly a month and a half.
All right. I guess if there's nothing else to discuss, I was going to ask quickly. As I mentioned to you guys earlier, my video about Natalie Portman's speech at the Women's March was surprisingly more popular than some of the. Well, it's turned out to be my most popular video yet, in that it's just, I think last I looked, it was just about to pass 6,500 views. That being said, anybody here particularly enjoy that video, or have any thoughts on why that one turned out to be so popular?
I think the reason why it was so popular, dude, was this: is that back in my old channel, The Conservatarian, I actually made a video talking about the Pussy Hat Project, and that was my most viewed video as of yet. I wish I had saved it. I wish I would have saved that video. It had 1.7 thousand views, and the tags I put down were feminism, Pussy Hat Project, and a few other celebrity names. And I think that because people were looking up feminism and Pussy Hat and Women's March, that's why I got popular. Okay, and definitely, I'd say when you throw in celebrities' names and stuff, they tend to show up in search results more. Hey. But I know I did throw in some. There was a picture of Natalie Portman, a thong in the thumbnail, so that probably garnered at least a few mil clicks. But I did enjoy making that video, in as much as I thought it highlighted very well that feminists think, basically the feminist message is essentially women should be able to do whatever they want all the time and always feel happy about it. And if they don't feel happy after a decision they've made, it must be the fault of some man somewhere. I know I should not be laughing at that, but that's the truth of what feminism has devolved down to.
Oh yeah, exactly. And
to me, I've been trying Oh, you're gonna say something? Yeah, to me, I was gonna say
I even put in that video the Aziz Ansari story, where this anonymous 23-year-old woman went back to Aziz Ansari's apartment with him, got naked, performed sexual acts with him. Then when he wanted to have intercourse, she said no, and he did not pursue the matter further. But she then proceeds to say that the whole while she was naked with him, performing sexual acts, she was sending him non-verbal cues that she didn't really want to do what they were doing, and expected that he would, and you know, all the whole Me Too movement is saying this is sexual assault. Well, what I want to know is, so what exactly were the non-verbal cues that you were giving? well, you
Yeah,
had gotten
and
naked and were performing sexual acts on him.
Yeah, and here's what I would say to this woman. You don't get the right to be a victim. Like, as hard as that may sound, you just don't get the right. Because men, and generally speaking, men, we are piss poor at picking up non-verbal cues, we'll say, during sexual intercourse. I know I have to, and I can't believe I have to say this, not all men, but generally speaking, men are just terrible at picking up non-verbal cues. For men, it's more of a physical thing. For women, it's more of a mental thing, if that makes sense. And this woman's saying that
Certainly.
and the fact that this woman is saying that, oh, I was harassed or I was sexually assaulted, when she had the chance to leave multiple times, but yet she decided to do the evil deed, multiple times. No, you don't get the right to be sorry. You don't get the right to get any empathy, in my opinion. Like, I know that sounds
what's
horrid.
ironic. Well, what gets me in all this is that women already have, and women and men alike, for the most part, you already have the right to do whatever you want. Sexually speaking, if a woman wants to abstain from sex, she is free to do so. If she wants to take part in sex, she is free to do so. What the feminists want is women should be able to take part in any sexual behavior they want, and everyone else needs to feel but however they feel about it, everyone else needs to feel the same way, or they need to always be happy afterwards. And that is not something you can demand. You know, I have the freedom to dress like a clown when I go out in public, but I do not have the freedom to stop people from laughing at me or calling me stupid for doing so. In the same way, any woman has if she wants to take part in consensual sexual encounters, she is free to do that. If other people call her a whore or a slut, she can't stop them from doing that. If she discovers the morning after that she doesn't feel so good about herself, that doesn't mean that she just still didn't consent to it.
Yeah, to me, and this part, perhaps this is the more conservative part of me coming out, but I just think our culture here, right now, currently, we are way too open in regards to sex. I really do think that.
No, I agree.
And I don't mean that. I'm not saying that, oh, no, don't have sex. Don't have sex before marriage. But it's happening way too much for it to be comfortable, in my opinion. I say this, like, if you're to do it, by all means, that's your own prerogative. That's your own mission. But don't get me involved in it. And again, there are some relationships out there that exist where people have had sex before marriage and it works, or they don't get married at all. And I say, Godspeed to you. But people like me, we want to wait until we're married because we believe in tradition. Again, folks, there's a reason why I'm called conservatarian. I believe that traditions.
I would add to that. You know, I know conservatarian and I disagree on a few things, although we're on the same page on a lot of things. And what I'd say is I am a libertarian in that I believe everyone should have the right to make their own decisions. That doesn't mean I think every decision is a good decision.
Same here.
I think this isn't just with sex, but with many things. I think there are many decisions that, well, I think you should have the right to make those decisions. I would still say you ought not because it's a bad decision. And, you know, I am not going to use force to stop you. But if you make stupid decisions, you are going to reap the consequences.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that is what I say is that, again, it's your prerogative. Don't get me involved in it. And if you end up getting pregnant or getting an STD, then that's your own damn fault, not mine. Again, perhaps that's the more conservative side of me saying that we shouldn't encourage it, but who am I to say, you know?
Yes. I see conservative Californian says society is too careless with sex. That is definitely an understatement.
And oh my God, I have so many jokes to say, but I don't want to say it because I don't want you to go BTFO, dude. I don't want to do that to you.
All right. Villainous Vic says weed is fantastic.
Oh, damn it! The more you talk about weed, the more I want it, but I can't have it. You're just torturing me at this point. When I was in Amsterdam, I was offered weed, but I just couldn't get it because I wasn't allowed to by my family. And again, folks, I would say this: I wouldn't encourage drug usage, but if you're gonna do it, by all means, that's your prerogative. Just don't get me involved in it.
Exactly. I would say drug usage, as a libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, drug usage is a victimless crime. I think drugs are indeed harmful. If you want to harm yourself, that is your prerogative. But certainly does not make it a smart decision.
I mean, the reason why I'm against them is that I'm an athlete and I don't believe in using drugs to help enhance your performance. I'm just completely against that. And I actually would say that's one of the most, or not one of the most, but definitely up there, one of the most vile things you can do to someone. Because not only do you take away a person's rightful medal or trophy in that case, you steal them their moment of glory that they so rightfully deserved.
All right. I'm quick going to answer a question. Simon Petrikov asked, how large will artificial lakes be in Ancapistan? My question to you is, who do you think is going to be building artificial lakes and for what purpose?
Hold on. Let me go through this.
I was waiting to see what he says. Now, I'll just say, in Ancapistan, even not in Ancapistan, in the society we're currently living in, be it, I'm in the United States, whether you're in Europe or Australia or some other part of the West, so far as I know, no law stops anyone from building an artificial lake on their property. The only thing is I don't know many people building artificial lakes because it would cost a lot of money, and there are plenty of natural lakes around.
Actually, in Chile, there's a hotel where there's a huge artificial pool. It's built to look like the ocean.
Oh, I'm not saying no one does it, but
it's very rare.
So I guess, there's a perfect example. How large would the artificial lakes be? Depends on what resort is building and what clientele they're looking to attract.
Hold on. Conservative Californian says that he used to be an athlete, but he took an arrow to the knee. What athlete were you, dude? What sport did you do? I'll come back to him later. But no.
With the artificial lakes thing, because I live in Australia, we have artificial lakes pretty much everywhere, especially in the country. How big are they? Yeah. Dams, dams, small lakes. Pretty much every single farmer in Australia has a dam somewhere on his property. And how big is it? As big as it needs to be to hold water for any dry spell.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I guess I didn't think of dams or reservoirs as when he said artificial lake, but yeah, I guess by definition those would be artificial bodies of water. So
I mean, even in the suburbs, because I live in the suburbs, we have I have at least 2 reservoirs for domestic water storage within walking distance. It's like Simon Petrikov says would be for tourist attractions, as big as you could, honestly as big as the hotel could afford, probably.
Oh wait, I just realized that's a Skyrim reference. How did I fail to realize that? I feel stupid. Well, that's what I get for playing Witcher 3 so much lately. Yeah, I'm gonna say it now. Witcher 3 is objectively better than Skyrim. Now I'm gonna get sued.
Well, I've never played either game.
That's the real crime here. That's the real crime here, my 2 cents. How have you not played either games?
Because I have very little time for gaming anymore. I work a full-time job, and I'm trying to put up 3 videos a week on my YouTube channel.
Then that would explain it.
I need to go. I need to get back into playing Witcher. But I was gonna do because I've got all 3 games. I was gonna take a single playthrough through all 3, but I stopped because I had work troubles in the middle of Witcher 1, and I come back to it now, and it's like what the hell was I doing? What the hell was I supposed to be doing? What is my car? I don't know anything. I've completely forgotten what the hell I was doing.
To me, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. Yeah, to me, I don't have very much time as it is to play games anymore. At most, I can get like maybe 6 hours of gameplay, but that's generally me doing it towards the end of the week, not during the week, because I'm constantly working out. I'm having to swim, which I only swim like 2.5 hours out of the day. But you have to remember that the workouts I do are physically exhausting. It's tiring. And it takes me roughly 30 minutes to drive there and back to get there. So literally, I'm there for 3.5 hours out of my day just doing that. And not only that, I have to go to school. So yeah, I don't have as much time as I would like to play games. But the few times I do get the few hours I am allowed to play games, I play games that are single player, because single player games, in my opinion, are better.
You like playing through campaigns and such?
Well, the sort of games I like are games like that where you get to decide to do whatever you want. Basically, open world games, and if not open world games, 2D games that are like Sonic, where you have to go fast. You have to go to the other side of the level and get there as soon as possible. Those are the sort of games I like. And games such as Witcher 3, the reason why I like that is because it's completely open world. It is so big, and your decisions actually impact the story. Like just today, I found out me letting free a spirit who's been trapped in a tree for so long. Because I had freed him, children were saved, but the people that I set out to save in the first place ended up dying. Now, had I not freed that evil spirit, had I not freed that tree, I would have been able to save those people, but the children would have died. It's games like that I like, because you would think that your choices don't matter, but they do. And also, listen to reason. Yes, I have played Skyrim. I have played Skyrim, you nerd.
Actually, that is again, like, I absolutely agree with you. Like, the thing that's cool about the Witcher series is that you can make really simple choices early in the game based on completely stupid reasons, like I did. Because in The Witcher 2, I sided with one particular faction because the other faction, which was just being jackasses, like, right, you're being a jackass, so I'm just going to ignore you and side with the other guy. And then right at the end of the game, that choice allowed me to save the life of a major character. That's cool.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Trying not to give any spoilers away, but it was nuts.
Yeah, I'm thinking of just going back to my 360, get Witcher 1 and 2, and then go back to Witcher 3, because I've only been playing Witcher 3.
But it's like, and I also think it's really cool, like the choices you make in Witcher 1 and then later in Witcher 2 carry over to Witcher 3 and actually change the state of the world.
Yeah, that's why that's why I say I need to get Witcher 1 and 2 so I can play them, and have those decisions carry on over. Although I don't know if it would be able to work cross-platform, because I don't have a PC. So would I be able to transfer my files from the Xbox 360 to my Xbox One, or no, to my PS4? I know.
I think. Oh God, it's difficult.
I know that would be difficult.
I don't know, man. I just don't know.
And so,
yeah, that's a conversation for a different day.
On that note, General Neckbeard just mentioned in the chat he's going to go play some Battlefield after this. I want to say quickly, for those of you who watch the two videos, the economy of the Soviet Union and the economy of Tsarist Russia, General Neckbeard provided all the Battlefield footage in the background for that. So thank you to him.
Oh, so the World War I Battlefield game.
Yes, the ones specifically the Russian Civil War. So that's why it ended up being the background footage for those videos.
I need to get back to Battlefield 1. I really need to.
Conservative Californian just asked me who is my favorite dictator. What a question to answer, because I feel like if I answer,
Sorry,
who
no,
is my...
I mean,
no, hang on.
I would say
Is it
my favorite.
Hang on, is it acceptable to answer anything other than Pinochet?
I mean, maybe Pinochet, but you could make a case for Woodrow Wilson because at least he went out fast.
Well, you see, the problem is I don't like Woodrow Wilson. Now, I can answer this. I don't like dictatorships. So to answer the question, who is your favorite dictator, is kind of a difficult question. I will say, strictly for the humor factor, I'm going to say my favorite dictator was Stalin, not because I think he was a good person. He was a terrible, evil tyrant. But given the fact that when Stalin was told by his own economic advisors that socialism didn't work, he had them shot. He was at least willing to, he wanted to, if there was ever someone who wanted to prove socialism could work, you might say Stalin was that dictator. And, well, at least he died before he saw the Soviet Union collapse.
Actually, I'd agree, but for a different reason. My favorite dictator is Stalin, simply because of all the political underground jokes that came out of the USSR.
Would Adolf Hitler? Adolf Hitler would count, right?
I mean, he certainly was a dictator.
Then I'd choose Hitler because God, he is a meme. He is a meme that will live on.
Certainly. That actually makes me think, who here, when they were like back in kindergarten or whatever, ever did those things where like when you jump roped, you would say those rhymes?
Well, like ring around the rosy, ashes to ashes,
well,
we all
like a jump rope, like I forget, there was a specific game we'd play where two people held a jump rope on both sides, and you would jump in and out, and as you were jumping rope, you'd have to repeat these rhymes. It was meant to, I don't know, see how focused you were. But there was one little rhyme I remember. And in 1944, Hitler went to war. He lost his pants in the middle of France in 1944.
I don't remember.
Okay. I don't know. Perhaps this was just something at my elementary school. But that was a game I remember playing.
Were you sent to a private school or?
No.
Because to me, I remember I was given the blessing of being able to go to a private school at a young age. Thank God, I'll never forget that. And the things that school did were very unorthodox in comparison to other schools. And I'm not just saying in comparison to public schools. I mean in comparison to other private schools. Like they would. This is before they outright banned mercury. You being allowed to touch mercury. I was able to touch mercury. And I thought, wow, why? Again, mercury, it feels weird to hold it in your hand, you know? It just does, but...
It's liquid metal. No other substance on Earth is like that. It's just so strange.
Well, here's the thing: is that technically speaking, that's not true. In order for you to get any metal liquid that's not mercury, you just have to heat it up really, really hot.
Well,
that is technically a liquid.
Any other material that doesn't immediately burn your hand off.
Yeah, mercury is the only liquid is the only metal that is a liquid form in room temperature. It is the only metal that I know of. If there's another one, by all means, correct me.
Well, it's mercury is still unique because hot molten metal behaves very differently to mercury. I mean, I've seen hot steel being, molten steel being poured, and you've got sparks from just tiny bits of hot steel flying all over the place. It reacts very differently to mercury.
And I still remember, I was told a story of how, what was his face? Isaac Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, how he bathed himself one time in mercury. Oh, how painful that must have been for him.
Good man.
Good man, yes. The man who invented calculus.
The science.
Yes.
Although this does remind me, whoever the guy responsible, the guy who discovered the chlorine gas was known for actually smelling every single gas he actually managed to distill. It's just like, what the hell? What are you doing?
I mean, here's the thing.
Sure we actually read.
It's funny how some of history's most brilliant people ended up doing some really stupid things.
I mean, you have to understand that at the time they had no idea of these sort of things. They had no idea of the consequences. But the road to success is paved with failure.
So it certainly is. I guess I was referring more to, and it's perhaps stupid things done in the name of science might not be in the same category. I'm just pointing. Was it Einstein who burned down his house with a candle?
I don't know.
I forget. It was one of those really, really smart guys. But it's what I found is, you know, they sometimes say people who are like geniuses, they have these really, really, really high IQs. To some degree, get so detached from reality because they're smart that they end up making simpleton mistakes that other people would think like, how would you ever do something that stupid? But it's because, you know, they're so smart in the academic field that their common sense in day-to-day living goes out the window.
I mean, I don't know what my IQ is, but I would say it's roughly between 119 to 150. That's where my IQ lies.
Okay, hang on. Villainous Vic asked a question. Which question are you referring to?
Is Roadhog thick? Yes or no? Let me look up Roadhog.
No.
Yeah, I can't help you with that one. Sorry.
But
hang on, just quick. We are.
Yeah.
We are getting near. I'm going to have to end the stream soon, but I wanted to throw out. This is an opportunity for everyone to give me feedback as well. So for patrons or anyone else who just happens, or the rest of my subscribers who happen to be watching, is there anything on the channel that you like or dislike, or videos you might like to see in the near future, or anything like that? Now is the perfect time to discuss it. And if not, everyone is always welcome to send me direct messages or message me on Twitter or whatever else. So, Listen to Reason says best stream ever. I think you're being a little generous, but thank you.
I mean, to be fair, Listen to Reason did interact in the stream. He was a part of the stream. He just wasn't here, if that makes sense. We were interacting with him via the
chat.
Via the chat. So yeah, he was here.
Nobody else.
All right. Well.
No.
Yes.
Going to discuss a bit about the Mueller indictments, which I think are a crock of shit.
Mueller indictments?
Yeah.
I would have to agree.
The 13 Russians. It's just right. So taking out crime, apparently.
I mean, this honestly, like every time another story pops up about that, it's almost hard for me to even read it anymore. This has just gotten so ridiculous. Like the mainstream media is so determined to prove that Donald Trump is an illegitimate president that someone like Hillary Clinton can get away for, even though the James Comey testified that she did things that were clearly against the law, yet they twist it so that she gets away, that they are now inventing crimes, grasping at straws. I can, just see George Soros sitting behind his desk, pounding his fist, saying, "You will get Donald Trump out of office one way or another." And to me, it's just ridiculous.
I don't want to call George Soros Senator Armstrong, or like Darth Vader. But if I could just imagine Palpatine, you could yes, you could say that. But then that makes me question: who is Hillary Clinton? Who is Bill Clinton? Is Bill Clinton Count Dooku? Is he? Is Hillary Clinton Darth Vader? How does this all work?
Okay, Bill Clinton is Count Dooku. Hillary Clinton is Darth Maul. We'll get to see.
Nah, I'd pick Hillary Clinton as Newt Gunray.
that one I can see. That one I can see.
Wait, McGunry? Who's that?
The viceroy of the Trade Federation.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Old at least prequel Star Wars, like the prequels. At least you can laugh at them and enjoy them. Whereas in new Star Wars, you can't do that. It is just horrible. Like
yes. The Star Wars prequels, I don't think they were great, but I do think they were entertaining, at least to some degree.
Although I'd still say that Attack of the Clones is hands down the worst Star Wars movie ever, because the first 3/4 of it isn't a Star Wars movie.
Yes, although I will say it was worth it to watch Yoda and Count Dooku's lightsaber battle.
Yes, and again, I just when I was seeing Star Wars The Last Jedi, when you guys have seen it, right?
Yes.
Right.
Hang on quick. I'm going to interrupt quick just because I see there has been one legitimate question in the chat. Anarcho-capitalist asks, what is my opinion of minarchism? Well, to answer that question, I definitely see a minarchism. A small government is better than a large government. The problem is that if history is any indicator, a small government cannot stay small. It will inevitably grow larger.
Well, yeah, the smallest government becomes the biggest, right?
Exactly.
Also, speaking of Star Wars, what about should we talk about the loot boxes and how the state is getting involved with loot boxes?
Oh, that's awful. It's like
was someone about to make a comment on the minarchism thing?
Yeah, I was going to make a comment. My view on minarchism is, because I used to consider myself a minarchist until I realized that what I actually advocated for was a form of anarchy, because it's like, okay, small government. Like, what I want is, if a government is going to form, and I believe that it is, because there are some people who will simply refuse to self-govern, and you need a way of dealing with them. What I would advocate for is no mandatory taxation at all, and no control over the money supply, because without those things, a small government cannot become larger, because it simply cannot create money or funds out of nothing. And that's actually anarchism. Like, if you advocate for minarchism, it's like, oh, and how do you prevent the government from getting larger? Oh, we restrict its powers in these specific things so it doesn't have any tools to grow larger. What you're actually advocating for is anarchism.
I would agree, because specifically what separates an ANCAP society from a minarchist society is, does the government have the power to forcibly extract taxes from the people against their will? If you advocate that, then you're a statist. If you don't advocate that, you're I don't like the term anarchist, but you're an anarcho-capitalist. All right. Well, I actually have to get going soon, although this stream has lasted a little bit longer. Usually they're only 1 hour. Thank you very much, Conservatarian, for joining, and to Pipsqueak, General Neckbeard, and the rest of my patrons. Just a reminder to everybody, if you would like to participate, just $1 a month on Patreon or Maker Support. And as always, thank you so much to all my patrons. I appreciate you so much. And for everybody watching, I make these videos for you. So please don't hesitate to contact me. If there's ever anything you want to talk about. I only have so much time, but I will do my best to accommodate everyone. So if Conservatarian, do you want to give yourself a shout out? Pipsqueak, General Neckbeard, you're free to do the same, and then we'll probably wrap things up.
Well, thank you, my 2 cents. I just want to say to everyone, it was a pleasure being here. I want to say directly to you, my 2 cents. Thank you for inviting me on. It was a pleasure being here.
And everyone, check out, if you haven't yet, watch the video I made with Conservatarian on walking while trans.
Thank you. And yes, if you like my content, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click the bell, and to remain sexy.
All right, and to everyone, thank you thank you so much for supporting my channel. Please like, share, subscribe, and as always, that is my 2 cents. So take it for what it's worth.